And a very warm welcome to you this afternoon on the second hour of SA Today. We're bringing you a special broadcast today ahead of the matric results announcement tonight for government schools. I'm not alone. My colleague, education specialist reporter Masaku Komane, is standing by from our SABC Auckland Park studios, where Minister Angie Motshekga will be making that all-important announcement in just under 2 hours' time. In fact, let's cross now to Masaku right this minute. Masaku, of course, a lot of anticipation ahead of the announcement of these results. Not many education experts expecting a pass increase. What can we expect tonight?
The South African nation and the public, the leadership in government, the sector and oversight structures of parliament, parents and learners in the basic education sector, the school management teams, the teachers and staff, colleagues, HODs from provinces, senior managers from the Department of Basic Education, senior managers from provincial education departments, all the officials from different line functions, exams, curriculum, teacher development, communities and broader civil society, teacher unions, the leadership that is present here and those who are still on the way, Association of School Governing Bodies and professional bodies in the sector, HEIs and partners in the sector, business and media, and all the important guests. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for honoring us this afternoon. We are eternally grateful to each one of you. I am going to go through this technical report. I've been given a maximum of 1 hour. I will try and reduce it to less than 1 hour, if possible. I'm presenting the technical report of the class of 2021. This is the outline of the presentation, a very busy outline, which I'm not going to go through bullet by bullet. I'm sure you can all see it in the interest of time. We believe that we are a system on the rise. That's the first point to make. We've always identified very important signs of a system on the rise. I think I forgot to acknowledge and appreciate our entities, in particular Umalusi, and I see the chair, and I've seen the CEO of Umalusi. Thank you very much for coming as well. Thank you, sir. We are a system that has built the capacity to overcome adversity through resilience. And I was saying to the team, we did that in 2020. The class of 2020 gave us the highest number of learners who enrolled, the highest number of learners who sat for the exam, the highest number of learners who met the requirements of the National Senior Certificate, the highest number of bachelors, and the highest number of distinctions. The only flip side in terms of very important indicators for that class is that it dropped in the overall pass rate, as we all know, to 76.2% from 81% in 2019. So we are a system on the rise. Well, in terms of introduction, our direction comes from the National Development Plan. 3 cardinal points from the NDP. Number 1, the NDP expects or enjoined us to contribute to an education and training system of the highest quality. That's what we are expected to do as the basic education sector. And in contributing to an education and training system of the highest quality, we are expected to improve our learning outcomes. Thirdly, we are also expected to improve our performance in international tests, such as PILS, TIMS, and SABC. I must say that we have improved our performance in SABC, we have improved our performance in TIMS, but in the last participation in PILS, our performance remained the same. Our results in the National Senior Certificate dipped in 2020 in terms of the National Senior Certificate. And the Minister will announce this evening as to whether we've been able to maintain last year's performance or whether the results are going to improve. What are some of the indicators that give us the state of health of our system? We will not claim to be succeeding and improving in every area. There are a myriad of challenges in the sector, but we work very hard, Professor Volmik. We work very hard, and we engender a culture of hard work, even in our learners. Many of our schools started on the 3rd of January, before the official opening on the 12th. Our schools, out of own volition, had already started, particularly those that are in grade 12. So the NEC, or rather the NSC, has become a very important barometer to tell us about whether we are succeeding or not in the sector. Number 2, as I've already indicated, we use international and regional tests to gauge our performance. We've also now brought in the systemic evaluation to give us regular data and again to give us the state of health of the system to replace the annual national assessments that we used to carry out through ANA. Many of you would remember that. We also finalized the general education certificate, working with Umalusi, who plays a very important role as a quality assurer in finalizing that qualification, which is going to afford us important data to make crucial decisions as learners and parents in terms of the pathway that learners are going to follow post grade 9, whether you go academic, whether you go occupational, or whether you go vocational. That will afford us incredibly valuable data to inform decisions that are to be made. We also use the 6 social justice principles that are encapsulated in Sustainable Goal number 4 of UNESCO, and we report against those at UNESCO, including the United Nations, on a regular basis. We will also reflect on that in the course of this presentation. What is the profile of the class of 2021? The largest class ever in history. This class, to use the words of the chair of the Assessment and Standards Committee of Umalusi, went through an extraordinary 2 years of schooling in grade 11 and grade 12. By 2020, when lockdown started, they were in grade 11. They got disrupted. Their schooling was disrupted in many ways. This class had their vacations shortened to allow for more time for teaching and learning. Exams, half-yearly exams, quarterly exams were cancelled to give way to teaching and learning. This is because we knew the gaps that this class was coming with. This class also went through assessment changes in grade 11, where school-based assessment was increased from 25% to 60%. Well, the international norm is that many countries have tended to rely heavily on school-based assessment. We are trying to follow that trend. Our system is not fully ready yet, but we are going in that direction. The weighting of exams also got decreased from 75% to 40%. These attributes are cardinal in interpreting and understanding the performance of the class of 2021. What is the unique educational context of this class? In line with what I've shared already, this class had to be taught through a rotational system, which we now all know about. You would be aware that the nut joints of DGs met today at 12. The President and the National Coronavirus Command Council will be meeting this evening. The President indicated yesterday, I think when he spoke, that they are looking at possibilities of relaxing the COVID-19 restrictions. We've made a presentation which was supported by the net joints of DGs, is now going to the NCCC for consideration, and our recommendation is that we want to see schooling full back on track 100%. And we hope that that recommendation will be endorsed by the NCCC. This class, as you would have seen, did not have a full exposure to exams. Practice makes perfect. And how you prepare learners, you subject them to regular controlled assessment so that they are ready for exams. They also went through a trimmed curriculum. If I may qualify, we selected fundamentals that are cardinal for promotion to the subsequent grade, for scaffolding in continuing with learning in the subsequent grade. Our experts did that, and they did an excellent job. This class had to learn from home, away from their peers, away from their teachers. This class needed psychosocial support, as we all know, that many of them lost their loved ones, their parents, their caregivers, their next of kin. They lost teachers, they lost school principals, they lost school management teams. The class of 2021 went through amendments of caps in terms of Section 4. They also had to learn under conditions of COVID-19. I'm sure you'll agree with us when we say this is a unique class compared to previous cohorts, if you look at the context within which they had to learn. The size and shape, this is us, basic education, 9 provincial education departments plus the national department, your educational districts and circuits, the schools reduced from 25,000 to 24. And the reason for that, we've closed and merged unviable small schools that do not lend themselves to being educationally and economically viable. A quick summary is that our learner numbers continue to grow every year. In 2020, our total learner enrollment was 13,100,000 learners. In 2021, the number has grown to 13,400,000 learners, despite the impact of COVID-19. We have grown by 300,000 learners in the system. I'm sure you can see that we've put in public schools, independent schools. I also want to underscore the fact that the number of independent or private schools writing exams with the Department of Basic Education as the assessment body far exceeds the number of schools, independent schools, writing through IEB. And we can share those numbers, but the figures that we have shared with you here, I think will attest to that. We've introduced this slide because many people would say the number of learners who entered the system compared to the number of learners who leave the system, it's either half or less than half. And we're tracking these learners as they go through the system. You can see that there are improvements. There are many reasons for these improvements, but there are 2 main ones. The first one is the implementation of the policy on learner progression, where we are saying learners in our system should not be retained for more than 4 years in a phase. That's a policy in the sector. Secondly, the change in the assessment, which I've shared with you, has also contributed to that. You can see that there is movement of learners from one grade to the other. But very important point that I think I need also to include, after grade 9, learners can opt to go to TVET colleges or continue with their schooling. In TVET colleges, you've got roughly about 800,000 young people who are in our 55 campuses in TVET colleges. The only problem that we have is our inability to link our systems, and the President has instructed that we must make sure that we get our systems linked so that we account for every learner. The official dropout rate in the basic education sector from research is between 13 and 15%. The problem that we have in the system, well, dropout rate is there, but the major problem is failure, retention, and repetition rate, if you like repetition rate. In some cases, you get even in grade 1, 30% of learners being retained. In many countries, Progression is automatic. When we shared that with the South African public, some of our critics said, we know that it should be African countries. And when we shared the list with them, they got a shock of their lives. Leading in the list were first world countries. It doesn't make sense to get learners to repeat from an economic reason, from an educational reason. It rarely benefits learners to retain them. In fact, the contrary is true. There is enough in the body of research about that. Well, some very interesting figures in terms of the class of 2021 on our EMIS data, Educational Management Information System. They landed with 750,000. Now, I'm sure we're also signaling HOD Gauteng that our problems are going to be compounded in 2022. If you think that we've gone through problems with this class in terms of their numbers, the numbers are going to be more this year. God should help us all. Well, in terms of enrollment, you can see that 733,000, those who wrote. What is exciting, Professor Volmik, is that this class had the highest number of learners who turned up to write exams. Highest in enrollment, highest also in turning up for exams. There must be something special among, those things that could account for this. And I'm sure that confidence to get to the exam, it's about preparation, it's about motivation, it's about support. And thank you very much to all the teachers, to all the parents, to all the officials who've been working extremely hard to support this class. You can see the number of those who did not turn up for exams is the lowest ever in history. Learner support, four points that we're sharing. It was around curriculum coverage. Of course, revision was part of that. Additional resources, support through broadcast, solution, TV, radio, teacher development was also cardinal in providing support to this class. CEO, I just thought that I must share this, which was shared by the minister, to try and contribute in in diffusing the confusion out there in the public around pass requirements. To say for bachelors, our qualification is a 4-quadrant qualification. For bachelors, we have outlined the requirements there, as you can see them. The same applies to diploma, the same applies to higher certificate, and the NSC. Running exams, it's a huge enterprise, not only in South Africa, but all over the world. But as you can see, we had to provide these services, an excellent team of men and women throughout our 9 provinces, up to 24,000 of our schools carrying out this responsibility. I'm not going to go into details of the number of marking centers because of the increased in learner numbers that had a rippling effect in terms of all that we needed to put in to make this a success. And thanks God that we didn't have paper leaks this time around. Well, this is the same data. Well, I'm just giving the information that I gave earlier on. The highest number ever, you can see that it's head and shoulder above the rest of the other cohorts. It stands out like a sore thumb. Part-time candidates, we had a drop last year. We're happy that the numbers are coming back. The point that I made earlier on, if candidates are fully prepared, supported and motivated, they would go and write exams. So we've seen an improvement, at least in 2021, for part-time candidates. And we're just giving a comparison from 2017 to 2021. I'm sure you can see the difference, particularly between those years, especially the last 2 years. Well, what we're doing here is also just indicating again, reminding ourselves about, again, part-time candidates, but this time we're just also comparing from 2017 to 2021. Enrollment in terms of gender, of course, our girl learners being more than boy learners, a nice ratio of 44 versus 55. Well, the enrollment in terms of key subjects that we have identified, an increase, Professor Volmik, even mathematics, but we want to bring it to what we had in 2017 to even exceed that, which was 278. Okay. Okay. Thank you. The CEO was just indicating to me that it might be important, Mr. Mhlanga, just to have us share the figures as well. It looks like, yeah, good, brilliant. Thank you for a timely and strategic intervention, CEO. So increase across the board, as you can see, the biggest class ever. Home languages, you can also see, including South African Sign Language. We want to grow this subject to offer it even as first additional language in many of our schools to engender social cohesion within our communities. Technical subjects, we've introduced technical subjects in our schools in 2018 in a new form of specialization. You can see that subjects that used to be condensed together have now been broken down into areas of specialization. And these are subjects that we need to support and increase participation rate. In other words, more and more young people in our country should do these subjects so that we're able to reduce the number of young people who pursue the academic pathway to about 50 or even 40%. And then 60% must move in this direction if we are to get our economy right. The enrollment for South African Sign Language, which is what you see before you, the enrollment for these new subjects, technical maths, which was not there before, very new subject which we introduced in 2018, technical science. And thank you to Umalusi for having allowed a practical component, a PET, for a mathematics which is intended to support your technical subjects. But as you can see, the enrollment is very, very low. We need to push for higher numbers in these subjects. Progressed learners, we've seen a tremendous increase, of course, because of the changes in the assessment. Only 2 provinces in the main Limpopo with 3,000 more progress learners and 316 in Mpumalanga. The rest of the other provinces reduced the number of progress learners. Total learners who entered in terms of age analysis. The majority of our young people enter schooling at the appropriate age of 7 years, as you can see, finishing at 18 years. Very few are underage, and there are various reasons for that. It could be accelerated learning. It could also be learners who are necessarily not part of the public schooling system, but independent of private schooling system, and not regulated in terms of strictly having to start schooling at the age of 7. Our overage learners are getting reduced. As you can see, the graph is moving towards the left and reducing from the right, as you can see. There are still some overage learners. A gender split of that, as you can see, from age 20, in your appropriate ages, girl learners are leading. They are in the majority. In terms of overage learners, the number of girl learners is reduced. The boy learners are dominating. What does it mean? Boy learners tend to take a longer period to finish schooling because of social ills, being engulfed in social ills. We raise this every year. We're trying to do something about it. And somebody said to us, it doesn't mean that we're focusing on the girl learner. We need to maintain the balance. Support both, but make sure that the boy learner also is supported in terms of the social ills. Learners with special education needs, the slight drop is in the Free State. The rest of the other provinces increased, both learners who entered and wrote. Correctional Services, what we like saying is that there's no place to hide for basic education. We follow you. Everywhere you go, we will go there. In terms of both part-time and full-time candidates, those are the numbers. You can see that we had a drop, in those who wrote and those who entered. Social grants, some decreases rather in some of the provinces for learners who enrolled. But overall, you can see that there is an increase because of the overall increase in the learner enrollment. Standardization. This class of 2021 enjoyed some generosity rather from standardization, and for factors and reasons explained by Umalusi when they certified and approved the release of the results. Standardization happens all over the world, and I'm sure the CEO will continue to enlighten us about the need for standardization. And so we thought that we must also share this data with you. Well, taking a historical perspective of learners who met the requirements, last year we had the highest number, and in a few hours' time, we will know how the class of 2021 is going to perform in terms of its own numbers. In terms of the overall pass rate, I've already indicated, I've given you the numbers, the highest enrollment and the highest number of those who sat for exam. And this class had the smallest number of those who did not write the exam. Okay, I'm going to go past this one as well. What we also do is that because performance is multidimensional, it's not only about the overall pass rate, it's also about how you perform in terms of fee-paying schools versus non-fee-paying schools and independent schools. And we compare this. I mean, you'll see that some provinces can get number one in overall pass rate, overall. But when it comes to fee-paying, there's no monopoly of positions. A different province would get position one, and a different one would get 2 or 3. And that's what we are trying to share here. The next one is really about passes by type of qualifications. We've just removed bachelors. We have provided information on diplomas, on higher certificates, and NSC. In the next one, we've only provided information on bachelors. If you combine this plus the 3 that I've given you, you can determine what the overall pass rate is going to be. And you'll know well in advance as to what the minister is going to announce in a few hours' time. And here it's in terms of fee-paying, non-fee-paying, and independent schools. Bachelor pass trend in terms of percentages last year, last year was the second highest performance. And I think in a few hours' time we'll know how this class is going to compare with the class of 2020 and the highest class in terms of performance, which is the 2019 class. In terms of numbers, we had the highest number of bachelors last year, even though, as I've already indicated, overall pass rate dropped, but the number of bachelors, because of the increase in the learner numbers and the chances of succeeding if supported, we had the highest number of bachelors last year. We're starting to tell you how the results look like. KZN has contributed the highest number of bachelors. And of course, because of the population of that province, followed by Gauteng. I'm sure you'd also appreciate the fact that between Gauteng and KZN, they account for almost 50% of the total number of bachelors in the system, Gauteng and KZN. In terms of bachelor percentages, Western Cape has been leading. Western Cape is still leading even this time around. I'm sharing the results now. It's followed by Gauteng, Free State, and the rest of the other provinces. The actual figures will be revealed by the minister. This is a very interesting slide. When we presented this to the president, and when we came to this slide, his observation was that we have now touched the holy grail. We have almost reached the ultimate. In 2005, 20% of our schools, quintile 4 and 5, accounted for 80% of bachelors, 2005. Fast forward, 2021, you now have quintile 4 and 5 accounting for 38.2%, which went slightly down from 42%. Quintile 1 to 3 now accounts for 61.8%. Bachelors are quality outputs in the system, not quantity, quality outputs. It means children of people in the rural areas, in the townships and informal settlements have now increased their output to 61.8%. It's never happened in this system in history. It's the first time. I'm actually shaking. I said to the President, President, you can establish a commission of inquiry. We'll stand by this number. This is the performance of the system. And these are the figures. Believe it or not, 61.8%. Schools that the diagnostic report of the National Planning Commission said 80% of them are dysfunctional. That's where these results are coming from. Age analysis, we've just provided a table and a brief summary because I have to conclude. The younger they are, the better they perform. The more focused, the more agile, and they give better outputs. The older they become, you can see from around age 26, the performance is dropping. And then it picks up, I think, around age 28 or so, 27 or 28. The performance starts picking up when they are settled and understand the purpose of being at school. And these ages, somebody might ask, how does it happen that you've got 34-year-olds? We've got a case, but there are many of such cases, of learners who got ill for a long time, left schooling, and after they recovered, they came back to school. One of such learners will be given an award. He's a top learner among our quintiles that are going to be honored by giving them nice gifts this evening. He's one of those who left the system because of ill health for a protracted period, but came back and performed exceptionally well. Well, this is just a graph giving the same message. You see a dip the older they become, but I've explained the reasons for those who might be 13 years, 14 years, who are underage in the system. This is very interesting in terms of performance again. You can see that our girl learners are doing exceptionally well in finishing schooling well within the required age. May I also indicate 80% of our learners in the class of 2021 are between the ages of 18 and 20. That should say that we are managing a very healthy system. A very healthy system is not a dysfunctional system. Progressed learners, as I've said, I'm just sharing some of the information that the Minister will share with you this evening. Progressed learners, Free State is leading. We also of the view that if you're able to provide the requisite support for your weaker learners, the likelihood for your province to do well and perform among the best is there. And this is the evidence. I'll go over the slide. 2020, we compare with 2021. In terms of quintile 1, 2, and 3, we've seen a drop of those schools performing between 80% and 100% in terms of quintile 1, but quintile 2 and 3 you see an increase, including quintile 3 and 4. And 100%, there's been a decrease there. Selected subjects, those that are in red, there's been a decrease. It's a mixed bag. And those that did well, did very well to give us very good numbers in terms of bachelors, in terms of overall pass rate, but also in terms of distinctions. And you'll see that later on. Well, we also categorize it in terms of 30% and 40%, and again, we give in that comparison there. Home languages, some improvement. Home languages are very high enrollment subjects, so you can see the majority of them did very well. And if you pass a home language, you stand a very good chance to do well. If you fail a home language, even if you get distinctions in the rest of the subjects, you fail. Those are the requirements of our policy for promotion. First additional language, that's the performance 2018 to 2021, at 30. And then South African Sign Language, that's the performance there. A slight drop from last year, you'll see that. A slight increase with 25 learners, but we're expecting that to improve even further. Technical subjects, I want to emphasize, this is the area where we need to focus more as a country. Focus more in this area to get more young people. If we want to compete with Germany, if we want to compete with Asian tigers, this is the area. If we want to bring traction in our economy, this is the area now and the future. And we really need to take this message out to our parents, to our general public, that it has to be cool for our young people to enroll for technical subjects. In the past, people used to carry the perception that if you offer technical subjects, it means you are not, academically gifted. It is not true. Some people's brains are in their skull. Some people's brains are on their hands. Some people's brains are on their feet, and they dribble like nobody's business. Some people's brains are just behind here. And brains can sit all over your body, and you can excel. And therefore, we need to encourage more and more of our young people to offer these subjects. And these subjects, Professor Volmik, performed better ever since we got to introduce them last year. And again, in terms of technical maths, I've indicated among many reasons for the improvement, it's a practical component, a pad for technical maths. You cannot build a bridge theoretically. It's got to be practical. Even at university, applied mathematics is practical. It's not theoretical. And we're introducing that from schooling so that our young people continue with that and they know what's going to mean for them. Also to support the rest of the areas of specialization. We're giving you a comparison. 2021, we had the best harvest ever. And raw marks in the main in these technical subjects. At 30, you can see how we've performed. So we want to encourage more and more young people to enroll. But we also have a responsibility to increase the number of technical high schools, to exceed the number of schools offering academic pathway. Then we'll have a very good building block for us to stimulate the economy of the country. At 40, 30, and 40, I've shared that. District performance, we moved 7 districts, improved from 60 to 69% to 70 to 79%. These are the districts in the main which contributed to the improvement that we've seen, that we have shared with you. You can see that we moved districts from 60 to 69.9 bracket, and they moved over to 70 to 79 bracket. Top 10 districts, well, time will tell whether it's going to be Gauteng, whether it's going to be Eastern Cape, or whether it's going to be Limpopo. There are surprises in the system. We want that no places are permanent for anyone in the system. There's movement from the top, there's movement in the middle, there's movement from the bottom. And those who are moving from the bottom going up, they must treat those that they meet on the way well, because they might meet them on their way down. Okay? Learners with special education needs, nice improvement. As you can see, although a drop in performance in the numbers, as you can see, number of bachelors dropped, but number of diplomas went up, but NSC also dropped, but number of higher certificate also went up in terms of learners with special education needs. Part-time selected subjects, in terms of those selected subjects, that's the improvement. Those that are in green, we've seen an improvement there. And those that are in red experienced a decrease. Distinctions, overall, a slight drop from 4.3% to 4.2%, as you can see. We've seen a drop in the Free State. That's why I told you that no positions are permanent. We've seen a drop in Limpopo. We've seen a drop in Mpumalanga, a drop in the Northwest, where I come from, a drop in the Northern Cape, and an improvement in the Western Cape in terms of the distinctions percent. And then in terms of key subjects, performance, a mixed bag, as you can see, some increase, and those that increased phenomenally well. And Professor Volmik, I'm happy that mathematics enjoyed raw marks this year. No upward adjustment in mathematics. So, because people always say, these guys perform so bad, every year no upward adjustment. Raw marks, marks from the scripts of our young people. I'm sure you can applaud them. That's not the best performance, but at least the needle is moving in the right direction. Well, progressed candidates, there is no dustbin for human beings in basic education. I think the notion of umuntu akalahlwa is appropriate. There is no dustbin in basic education, and we'll never give up on our young people. And look at how they've performed, even in maths, even in physical science. It's a great pity they've removed the slides. It's not only in your so-called soft subjects, they've given us distinctions, even in so-called cognitively demanding subjects. Social grants, a small decrease there in terms of those that are active. Those that are active are learners who are still receiving the grant. Inactive receive the grant during their schooling, but in grade 12, they had outgrown being recipients of the grant. But overall increase, even in social grants, and I'm sure Minister Lindiwe Sisulu will be organizing a farewell function for these learners very soon. You can also see there their performance, a slight drop from 65.84 to 65.52. Now, there's something interesting here. Now, those that are active, I've said, are those that are still receiving the grant. There's something very strange. Those that are still recipients seem to perform better than those that are no longer receiving the grant. And we'd want social scientists to investigate this and confirm our anecdotal evidence. In terms of male, female, well, boy learners performed slightly better than girl learners, overall around 60% there. And then the different types of the grants participation, or rather success rate, as you can see there, the grant that usually performs very well, you can see from those grants that in fact, even the combination of the two, care dependency and child support grant, giving you 71.9% there. Well, we're giving performance by achievement type, bachelor, diploma, higher certificate, and NSC. And you can see the performance of those various categories. Correctional Services, an improved performance from last year. We are in trouble, Tatemsue. I know people are going to say the inmates are performing better than these guys who are outside the confinement of the prison. 89.2% overall, as you can see there. Full-time candidates. I'm sure, Minister Lamola, I've received an invitation already. On the 24th, they'll be holding their award ceremony for their inmates. They've got the data. They know about this performance. Part-time candidates, 40%. I'm done. We also reflect on the performance of each class in terms of the 6 social justice principles that are part of Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of UNESCO and the United Nations. And we're reflecting on our progress in this regard. At your own leisure, you'll see how we have performed. The numbers are just amazing. They grow from year to year. In conclusion, we believe that the system has demonstrated resilience to overcome odds. And this performance of the system is inherent in the performance of our learners. We also happy to know that we are well on course in realizing the National Development Vision. We are not yet where we should be. We've made good progress, and there are significant signs to indicate that we have a system that is on the rise. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you very much.
I came at the right time. Thanks, DG. Thank you very much for that comprehensive briefing. We'll make the document available. I think it's already available somewhere. I saw a link, and we will make it available. We know it's the most analyzed document in the reports that we compile in the sector. Thanks very much, DJ. You kept to your promise. Can you please give the DJ a round of applause? Okay, now that we have that out of the way, we are going to ask that we take a break. We will be receiving our top achievers very soon, and we will be preparing for the live broadcast, which is going to be starting at 6. But we need everyone seated at 5:45. So you have between now and 5:45 to have a break. There's water outside. There's some snacks as well. We can enjoy that in the meantime. And we request that when we come back, we try respect social distancing. I think the program director will also talk to that. I know some people will say, no, but we are family. People always say that. And they say, I can sit next to her. We are colleagues. And we've been like this for a long time, so there's no issue. But we need to try comply with that. We need to be seen to be trying to comply with that, at least. We are going to rearrange the seating when we come back, because the MEC is not seated where the MEC should be sitting. MEC. We will rearrange. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, MEC. I can see you even with your mask. I also see your support there in Tatemloi. It's good to see you, Tatemloi. We don't usually see you here. The MEC is always on his own, but you're here today. HOD, also you will be rearranging where you will be sitting. So that's why we need the break that we want to take. I don't know if DG wanted to take questions based on the report that you've delivered. You will indicate to me, or if anyone has a question.
All right, we come out of that technical briefing. That was the Department of Basic Education's DG, Matanzima Mweli. He was giving a technical briefing ahead of the matric class of 2021 results announcement for government schools. Now, some of the pointers he was making is that the 2021 was the largest class ever to sit for the National Senior Certificate Examination. He also explored a number of issues coming out of his report, his technical report, saying that the class of 2021 was tremendously disadvantaged and challenged due to COVID-19, and that there was a myriad of challenges in the education sector. We will be speaking to an educational psychologist, Professor Diale, in just a few moments' time, just to unpack some of that. But interestingly, what the DG was also, revealing today was that there are some trends that they are tracking in terms of the results coming out this year, saying that between the years, in terms of bachelor pass rates, that he was saying that KZN and Gauteng contributing the most there. Also, in terms of distinctions, saying that there was a slight drop, particularly in Limpopo and the Free State. Now, he's also spoken about some challenges in terms of just online learning, a trim curriculum that we saw this year. Of course, we are anticipating Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, to be making that important announcement, the 2021 National Senior Certificate results, tonight at around 6 o'clock. Of course, we will be broadcasting that live right here on the SABC News channel. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. We'll continue with our top story.